on the plan for farm costing across the country to make it more affordable for our people. That's the rundown on our guest list. But before we hear from our guests, it is customary here that the Minister of Information and Chief Spokesperson of the government will have to speak to a number of issues to lay the basis for the press conference. With that being said, I want to request your undivided attention, and we'll have to seize the movement in the corridor. And I want you to please turn all the phones on silent as I now invite the Minister of Information, Honorable Jeremy Mapia, to the podium.
Okay, good afternoon. I'll quickly run out of a few things so I can give both the Executive Chairperson of NIPWA and the Boston Authority boss to have enough time to talk to you, and so we can also have enough time to interact during the question and answer period. And the first thing I wanted to just talk about quickly is something very important that is happening in the country. I'm not sure you members of the press are giving it a currency it needs. And that is the issue of the National Fisheries Investment Conference. It commenced officially yesterday, and it marked a significant milestone in Liberia's journey towards transforming its fisheries and aquaculture sector into a key driver of economic growth and sustainability. Yesterday, during the opening ceremony, the President of Liberia formally launched 3 landmark policy instruments. 1, a comprehensive 10-year strategic plan for the fisheries sector, which is a robust investment plan and a forward-looking public-private partnership strategy. These frameworks collectively set the foundation for structured growth, increased private sector participation, and long-term value creation within the growth economy. A major highlight of the conference was a signing of several strategic partnership agreements aimed at accelerating innovation and investment in the sector. The National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, NAFA, entered into a multifaceted collaboration with Orange Liberia to leverage mobile technology in fishery management, expand the use of Orange money for financial inclusion across the value chain, deploy solar energy solutions to support fishermen and fishmongers, and strengthen collaboration or cooperation during NAFA-led events. Additionally, NAFA signed a 5-year operational agreement with Extreme Fishery Liberia for the development and management of Sea King, Liberia's first semi-industrial fiberglass fishing vessel, which is an important step towards modernizing the country's fishing fleet. Another significant agreement was concluded with UNIMA, LAMA, and Trains joint venture company for the development and operation of rubber sport fishing cluster in Grand Kidmont County, aimed at boosting coastal fisheries infrastructure and local economic activity. In further demonstrating Liberia's readiness for large-scale investment, the conference showcased three bankable proposals. One, the development of an industrial fishing port, the establishment of a national industrial fishing fleet, and the creation of an industrial aquaculture off-taker farm. These initiatives are designed to unlock value across the fishery value chain, enhance food security, and position Liberia as a competitive player in regional and global seafood markets. The conference attracted high-level international participation, including 5 fisheries ministers from across Africa, mainly Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Morocco, as well as a distinguished assembly of delegates representing 21 countries. Their presence underscored the growing global interest in Liberia's fisheries sector and the country's commitment to regional collaboration and sustainable ocean governance. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, through the Minister, has underscored Liberia's strong resilience in the face of recurring global and domestic shocks. The Minister made these remarks yesterday at the launch of Africa's Macroeconomic Performance and Outlook 2026 report by the African Development Bank at the bank's headquarters in Abidjan. The Africa's Macroeconomic Performance and Outlook 2026 report by the African Development Bank shows that despite headwinds, Africa remains a global growth frontier, on track to remain one of the fastest growing regions in 2026 and hosting 12 of the world's 20 fastest growing economies. The report added that growth uptick in 2025 was broad-based, with stronger estimated performance in 32 of the 54 African countries, with 22 countries, including Liberia, having more than 5% growth. Mr. Gafwan also addressed recent fiscal shocks, including the abrupt withdrawal last year of $300 million in external project financing following the exit of Liberia's second largest donor, USAID. But despite this setback, Liberia maintained fiscal stability through enhanced domestic resource mobilization. The minister said, "I quote, the sky did not collapse on our heads," attributing the country's resilience to improved tax administration, enhanced digitization, increased transparency, and efforts to eliminate revenue leakages. As a result, he said, Liberia achieved its highest ever domestic revenue collection and recorded a small budget surplus. Highlighting sector reform, the minister pointed to ongoing collaboration with the African Development Bank to improve transparency and revenue generation in Liberia mining sector. He noted that current reforms are aimed at addressing disparities and ensuring that natural resources work will deliver tangible benefits to the Liberian people. Liberia's economic outlook, he revealed, remains positive, with GDP growth recorded at 5.1% last year and projected to increase to 5.6% this year. Inflation has declined significantly, averaging 8.2% for 2025 with end of December inflation of 4%. He noted that January 2026 the annual school census of the Ministry of Education for 2026-2027 has been launched. It runs from March 27 to April 27 across all 15 counties in Liberia. The ministry described the census as a backbone of the educational system, providing clarity or the clarity needed to strengthen supervision, monitoring, and decision-making across the sector. This year's approach strengthens accuracy, accountability, and real-time supervision. Data will be collected directly in schools by trained principals and registrars, then verified and processed through the county data hubs for analysis. The census will capture critical information on enrollment, teachers' infrastructure, learning materials, TVET, and overall school conditions, including issues such as overage enrollment and the inclusion of learners with disability. The results from the census will guide the government's decision-making on teachers' employment, resource allocation, and learning reforms, ensuring support reaches the schools and communities that will need them most. The Ministry of Education calls on school leaders, on teachers, parents, and communities to fully support this national exercise because accurate data today strengthens the system tomorrow. Now it appears that some Liberians, and I say some, not everyone, desperately want to see full-blown conflict between or amongst Liberia and some of its neighbors. Our country is as old as 170 years old. It lacks many basic social services. And the current administration has been working very hard to proactively and systematically address these issues. In doing so, we have to step beyond boundaries to ensure availability while seeking permanent solutions for most basic social services. The energy sector of the country is one of the left behind sectors that still has multiple challenges. Remember, a UP administration after the war destroyed the previous hydro, built the current one. The same UP administration re-established the Bushro Island power plant with HFO machines installed to complement the hydros. But these are not still enough. So under the West African power pool using the CLSG infrastructures, the country does receive energy supply from Cote d'Ivoire and Guinea. There are 50 megawatts from Cote d'Ivoire and at first 30 megawatts, now 25 megawatts from Guinea. You have to know that these supplies are not charity. They are paid for by the country. The supply from Guinea saw a decline from 30 megawatts to 25 long before the situation at the border. But one of the sources of energy generation in Cote d'Ivoire that produces 200 megawatts of electricity is ongoing routine maintenance. And so, Guinea decided that during the night hours, they will provide the country 20 megawatts of electricity, while the supply of electricity in the daytime is not stable. Sometimes they will do, sometimes they will not do until they resolve the maintenance work. But some actively ran to social media seeking to misinform the public and suggesting that because of the situation that was occurring at the border, Guinea has extended their action to cut power supply to Liberia, which are totally misleading. What do we wish to see when we do these things? Sometimes if you hear something and you don't have the answers, ask questions. But to be running with misinformation so confidently in a country that's supposed to be yours is strange. You cannot get your own country to this level. It's bad. It was stop. This action, we believe, is a part of a broader misinformation campaign that has characterized the situation at the border. We must stop that. As a government, we also note that there are certain officials of government whose utterances and actions certainly will not help the country in being at peace with its neighbors. I listened to a person who is supposed to be a lawmaker the other day in Kenya. And he said, and I quote, "You can't do something to John Brown. If you want to do something, do it to President Waka, who not set our country to." How can you be a national leader and be that irresponsible? There's no way to address that. Anyone who wants to categorize what I'm saying anyway is up to them. But there's no way to describe such action except saying the person is irresponsible. What are you suggesting? If you're a leader, you should be contributing to mitigating whatever is going on at the border. You cannot be so irresponsible and making inflammatory statements on a situation, if not managed by a responsible government such as the one we got, would have led to a big problem. And sometimes people behave that when something happens, whether they'll be hanging in the sky. If there was a conflict here, where will you be? If you're a government minister and something happens, I mean, many of you have always said to you people, you are young. You are young. You didn't see the war. Maybe that's why some people can play fun with these things, because you didn't see the war. You're not talking war, but they're running some of them. You've been all over the war, in all places of war beside Liberia. And you know what war is. If you are a minister, a senator, a representative, a managing director, you sit in your offices, you're able to be there and go there every day because the country is stable. If chaos erupts here, where will you go? Nowhere. The very job that pays you, and rather than focusing on you conducting yourself so irresponsibly, you will not have a job. So we've got to stop these behaviors and represent ourselves for what we are, national leaders who should be problem solvers. You cannot tie politics to everything, including things that concern the safety and survival of the nation. We've got to stop. You've got to thank God that you have the leadership you have in the country currently. I mean, just look around yourself. You don't watch your television. As a result of the global situation taking place, the war in the Middle East, in some countries, you see people getting on land to get petroleum products. Some countries are having availability problems. The same behavior. Want to see everything buy in the country. A few of them, they will go, when the thing started, they will pass to one or two gas stations, and they jump on Facebook, I've visited 20 gas stations, no fuel. You're creating a situation where a man who is a dealer say, "Oh, they posted a few million high, so let me hold my few." You want people to act in a way that strangulates the country. But then you go around, see gas stations operating normally, car can just pass through, get a gas. You the same man will not go and post and say, "I found a 20 gas station, gas get there all over the place." Only negativity you're interested in. Before each of us became what we are, whether government official, journalists, or whatever, were Liberians first. And I hope this message sinks. And I will put the politics on the ground when we are faced with these challenging times. That's what leaders do. The government, through the Ministry of Health, and in collaboration with the Ministry of National Defense, has officially commenced construction of a modern dormitory at the Sindé Comprehensive Health Center, marking a major step towards improving the living conditions of frontline health workers in rural Liberia. The new facility, intended to host nurses and doctors, is expected to ease persistent accommodation challenges that have long affected staff employment and retention in the health sector. The initiative will not only provide safe and decent housing, but also serve as an incentive to attract and retain qualified medical professionals in underserved communities. That's engaged. The project forms part of the government's broader effort to strengthen Liberia's healthcare delivery system by investing in infrastructure and improving the welfare of health workers across the country. The government emphasizes that enhancing working and living conditions for medical professionals remain critical to delivering quality healthcare services, particularly in hard-to-reach counties. In another development, the Nima County Health Team has received 28 brand new motorbikes from the Ministry of Health and partners to strengthen health service delivery across the country. The motorbikes were handed over in Sanikula, Nima County by Dr. Pone Obendi Dolo. We still got a couple of talking points, but I just want to jump over some of them and talk this last one before I call our guest so they can have enough time. As you may know, the president has appointed Mr. Johnny Tom K. Weeder as the new chairperson of the National Elections Commission. That follows the resignation of the previous chair, Madam Esther Brown last summer. Mr. Weeder is a seasoned electoral administrator with extensive experience in governance and public service. He served for more than 16 years at the National Election Commission. That was between 2004 and 2020. Key roles he played at NEC. He was a commissioner. He was one-time acting co-chair of oversight responsibility, including human resource, finance, and procurement. With regards to international experience, Mr. Weeder has participated in electoral missions and engagements across Africa, including in Kenya, in Ghana, in Nigeria. He has also contributed to election observation and assessment mission on the African Union and ECOWAS. With regards to education, he holds a Master of Arts with honor in Development Studies, Development Management from the School of International Training in Vermont, USA. He also holds a bachelor degree in General Forestry from the University of Liberia. President Waka has expressed confidence in Mr. Weeder's competence, in his integrity, and professionalism. Mr. Weeder's leadership at NEC is expected to uphold transparency, ensure independence, and strengthen the credibility of elections in Liberia. We know that there have been the usual political initial reaction of criticizing and talking down everything. But this is who Mr. Weeder is, and we have no doubt that he will perform credibly and professionally. anchor on the entity on which my ministry serves as a member of the board. Keep the Austin thing at the end, but that is remember. Headed by the former talking Minister of National Defense. Some are welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Good afternoon. All right, I'll try to give you a synopsis of what is happening at the Special Presidential Committee on the yellow machines. And then if there are questions or clarification that you need, I will try my best to answer. Mr. Minister, thank you for giving the floor to colleagues. Let me bring you up to speed. If you can recall, since the 22nd of February, the first set of 137 various equipment that were all combined and called the yellow machines arrived in the country, and they were subsequently deployed at Camp Ware in Carisburg. That deployment has taken place, the machines are staged, and they are ready to go. We have conducted a survey and continue to do so in the 15 political subdivisions, of what we call the 19 hubs. There are 19 instead of 15 because 4 of the larger counties will have 2 hubs each, versus the smaller counties or other counties that will have only 1 hub. So you have 15 counties, 15 sets, and then 19 hubs with 4 having 2 sets each. So those 2 sets will be Bong, Lofa, Nimba, and Grand Bassa. The remaining 168 machines are on their way. As a matter of fact, they are in the sub-region right now as I speak to you. But it's a very large, very large ship that's bringing multiple goods from many different people within the sub-region. And our commodities are also on it. For example, the one that's landed in Abidjan is a very huge ship, almost 300 meters long. So that one is going to be broken down. They will discharge the goods, and they will put those goods in smaller ships to have them come into Liberia. The last shipment that is coming is predominantly the actual yellow machines, where you will have front-end loaders, backhoes, bulldozers, motor graders, and what have you. And those machines will be coming here. According to the original schedule, it should have been here between the 3rd of April and the 4th of May. But given the complexity of what's happening around the world, it has caused a delay, but the ship is in the region, which means smaller ships will have to be formed in order to have those machines put on board and subsequently get here. So that will cause a delay most likely from the 3rd. We'll be looking out for the next week or thereabouts, and we'll give the public the information when the ship finally arrives. When that consignment arrives, there will not be a real formal program to receive them, but it will be a spontaneous receipt, movement, and delivery to Camp Ware. Because the rainy season will soon be here. We have to hurry up to get things done. And that is what is going to be happening when the bottom machines come. I want to thank all of you who were there the last time, or the first time when those machines come. Secondly, what we have done is we've gone to the different counties with meetings held with the county authorities through the cooperation of the Minister of Local Government and his officials to identify those locations where the machines will be staged in all of the counties. In several of the counties, access to some of the locations are good. Some of them have been cleared. Some areas have not been cleared. They need to be brushed up, where the machines will be staged. And then at the same time, in other areas, the bridges are our concern. Not much, just 1 or 2 areas. And one of the tough ones was Grand Crew. We're trying to weigh the bridges to see whether the machines can cross. Because out there, Grand Crew only have wood bridges, and they weren't too good. We have the physical evidence to that. But we are working along with other agencies, particularly the Ministry of Public Works, to see what can be done collaboratively in order for these machines to reach to those locations. So when the machine comes, don't be surprised that we didn't wait to organize the formal program. We've already done that. However, we're not driving at night, because our people are very suspicious. You drive in the night, I use machine that people bring in. So we'll drive broad daylight. So don't complain when there's a traffic. Because these ones are very, very heavy equipment. They can't move any slower than they can go. So we took our time to make sure we get from here to Camway in Kingsburg. We want to thank the Ministry of Finance. They've been very responsive to our mandatory and immediate request to get these things moving. We want to thank the board, chaired by the Honorable Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, in which our colleague here, Honorable Jeremiah Pierre, is a member of the board. We want to thank Public Works, Ministry of Internal Affairs, GSA, and all of the different agencies that have been cooperating in getting these machines going. The intent of the machines are very clear. Get deployed to the different counters and support the expansion, opening of roads, farm to market roads, town to towns, town to hospitals, town to schools, village to village, town to village, all of these roads that the people access or have access to, that the different counties are interested, that is what we're going to be doing. Public Works have the primary roads that are already set by the budget, and we will be in a supportive role to make sure that wherever the government needs us to do, we'll be able to do those machines. Those machines being deployed to the county remains under the watchful eye of the Special Presidential Coordinating Committee, on our eyes. And when we get up there, we expect that there'll be a county coordinator from our office that'll be in each and every county with an assistant to make sure that those machines are utilized only and only for the purpose of which they have been sent. The machines, all of them, are mission-oriented machines, meaning they move to accomplish a mission. They move to accomplish a task. They move on orders only. They are not machines to be properly utilized by any individual, regardless of what their portfolio is in the county. I want to make that extremely clear. Those machines are the sole responsibility of this Special Presidential Committee. When the decision is taken by the county and the local government and elected officials, in which they identify the roads that need to be fixed, need to be modified, need to be opened, need to be expanded, and that agreeable resolution comes to us and approved by the board of the yellow machines, that will be the decision taken to execute. There will be no shortcut. There will be no let's do it quick. We will not pass on a farm road or undertaking this project. We're not going to get involved in that. That's not our prerogative, and we have nothing to do with that. In each of the counties, the chair of that meeting is the superintendent of the county, along with the elected officials and all of the authorities identified in the counties to form part of that decision-making mechanism. It is expected that by the end of May, going June, Public Works will have already done the bill of quantity of all of the roads identified, so that will become the task that will be assigning in order to be able to be accomplished. Let me make that clear. In all of the counties where the meeting is taking place, the superintendent shall chair the meeting, co-chaired by the elected officials and other officials in the county that form the leadership of the local governance in that particular county. No individual will be allowed to make the meeting to be inconclusive or to be abandoned by your absence or your non-cooperation. The work has to be done in the county. We have to find a way to cooperate in the county. We have to find a way to work with the elected officials and our local appointed authorities so that they can come up with a decision as to what is needed, what is required to get the job done. Again, let me repeat, no single individual will cause the county not to take a decision. And then where there's an impasse, we will consult the Minister of Internal Affairs for a decision approved by the board. And that will be the action and support we'll take in the counties. The different counties, they have employment opportunities. The total number varies in some locations where we have 2 hubs, and other locations where there's 1. But the totality is over 1,000, about 1,127 persons will be employed throughout the 15 counties in Liberia. For example, one county might have, based on the structure, about 64 persons will be hired. Those are 2 hubs. We have, for example, 127, or 128, or 129, depending on whether the county has an assistant coordinator or whether the county has just 1 coordinator as such. But there'll be employment opportunities. The initial announcement suggested that March 31st or March 30 would have been the deadline. But I'm telling you here today, as the authority concerned and the special committee, I'm extending the deadline throughout the counties to the 30th of April. That will be the deadline for applications for those operators who are looking for jobs to work back in the county. We will not be recruiting anyone from location X to go to location Y unless location Y in all efforts cannot meet the quota numbers of operators that we need. For example, if we went out to Lofa County and couldn't find an operator in Lofa County for, say, specific equipment, the excavator, instead of all of the applications, we'll come back and review and find the possibility of sending somebody out there. But we have no intent to recruit outside the counties. If you're in Monrovia and you apply in Monrovia, all of the applications will be reviewed at the same time. Which means you cannot be in Monrovia and be applying to Bapulo at the same time. It's not going to work. You cannot apply, be in Bapulo and want to apply for a position in Sino. It's not going to work. We have to give the people of those local counties the opportunity to work because they will own the machines. The machines are there to serve them. And the way in which the president's intention is, and if you know me, that's exactly what we're going to do. It means the commander intent takes over anybody's voice. What the president wants, he gets it done. What the country desires in terms of the plans for the machines will be exactly what we do. And this is the reason why we want it to be localized and for the people to have the benefit of these machines to serve them well. Our intention is to build hubs. Hubs are a series of facilities at a given location where these machines will be housed, where the machines will be located, where the machines will be taken care of, where the machines will be serviced. For now, the predominant of the hubs that we want will be on a skeleton basis. You know, resources are scarce. There are competing interests from different agencies and ministries for resources. So we can't be the only ones to say, oh, you have to give us all the money. So we have right now funding that will begin the process this April. And my understanding is the process will begin in the southeast, and very likely from Grand Crew, which will be one of the most challenging areas. So we're going to go to Grand Crew first, and then come down south, southeast, subsequently come north, northeast, northwest, and then move west and in the whole 9 yards, and of course central Monrovia. So we didn't pick anything based on any kind of negative criteria. We could have started in Lofa. We could have started in Bong. We could have started in Bapulo. In fact, we could have started in Kempa or even Riverside. We just happened to choose the furthest area, which is more challenging as well, which happens to be Grand Crew. And they all have the same facilities. The same. You're going to have what they call a fuel farm. A fuel farm simply means there's a big tank where we'll put gasoline inside, 10,000 gallons, and another tank, 5,000 gallons, total 15,000 gallons. So between 13 and 15,000 gallons, we have a tank. Then we have a fence around the location, which is about 5 to 6 acres of land to host these equipment. And they have lights, solar lights, to make sure that the people who are working there can see. And then lastly, we have a maintenance bay, where the vehicles can come and the mechanic can go on there to change oil and service those machines. Basically, that is what we're going to have. It should have been more, more than that facility that we are talking about if the funding was totally available. But these are adequate enough at its minimum, along with the rest of them, at its minimum, to make sure that these machines can come, can be safe and secure, and can be managed and maintained. Maintenance first, maintenance last. Operations will have to go on. We cannot have the machine sitting as white elephants. Big white elephant in the middle of the town. The president has no intention for that. You want the machine to get out there, and the machine must work to the benefit of the county. Now, you're going to ask me, but it's going to be raining. That's correct. During the period of raining, the process for hiring operators will be underway and most likely completed. So once it is completed by August, those that have been selected and chosen will be chosen, and then Public Works is going to go back and test them in the locality where they are. All of them will be tested in the locality to see whether you're able to operate these machines. Do not recommend the secretary to operate in Monrovia. Don't tell me that they have the master to operate an excavator when they cannot. Don't send an application to tell me you got 10 years of experience as a teacher and you want to operate a dump truck when you know you don't. So look for those Liberians who have the capacity, the knowledge, the training, and experience to apply. The job is available, and the benefits are okay, and I believe you will like it. All of the positions are of term limit, meaning you're not civil servants. So you don't have to go to civil service agency. You are contractors. So you sign a contract with the government through us over a period of time to perform your duties. And the contract is reasonable enough because we need your expertise. And because we need your expertise, we too will make sure that we take care of you, even during the dry season and subsequently the rainy season. Finally, I think it's important for you to recognize that there are no conflict of interest here between the committee and the Ministry of Public Works. Yeah, you may have your concerns, that is true, but we are working collaboratively. As I speak to you now, Public Works is literally chairing our meeting to recruit 19 operators and 2 mechanics in Monrovia, not for Monrovia, are 2 different words. In Monrovia, because machines are based out here in Carisburg. And we need those operators and mechanics who got trained by the Chinese suppliers of these machines so they can develop the capacity and knowledge to be the first set of Liberians who will train others. So we're training them to train other people along with the ship of the equipment before the machine moves to the different locations. We intend to move the machines as quickly as possible under 2 weeks upon the final receipt of the consignment. That should have been most likely at the beginning of May, the middle part of May. But given the delay in the past 2 weeks, we'll review that whole deployment process and see how quickly we can get those machines back to the county. But I can tell you, in collaboration with the Armed Forces of Liberia, the engineering unit, have the AFL through the Minister of Defense. We are very glad that they want to thank the Madam Minister for improving the AFL participation in the construction of the different hubs throughout the country, as well as to support the efforts of accountability for fuel, storage, distribution, and dispensing. I want to publicly thank the AFL for that, for leveraging their expertise. And as I speak to you, by next month, which is like next week, or by this weekend or thereabout, you will begin to see some of the AFL engineers moving south to begin the operation to get those hubs built. I want to thank all of the agencies that have collaborated with us, and if there are any further questions, I'll be in a position to answer. Thank you, and thank you very much. Mr. Minister.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I will appreciate you if you could inform me that I stand up existing protocols and declare all protocols observed. As indicated, I'm Madam Florence Katika Jigwe, the Managing Director of the National Housing Authority. I appreciate the fact that we are all here today to talk about Liberia's housing situation. Liberia's housing situation is a little bit not in concert with what we have in our neighboring country. But as we took over this entity, we have done everything humanly possible to keep on par with the developing nations. We have a record of severe lack of affordability in our housing sector. We have limited budgetary allocations to meet up with the needs of our development partners, especially as regards the land situation. In the housing sector, there are key variables that one has to consider. You consider land, and you consider the ready, willing, and available buyers of the loans, which we are doing everything humanly possible to have land and have what we call off-takers. Off-takers in the housing scenario are those that are ready, willing, and available to buy the homes that will be constructed either by the government or by the development partners. Our housing needs, I want to say a little bit about housing needs. We need 200,000 new dwelling units to reduce the current overcrowdedness. We need 163,035 housing units to keep up with our population growth. We need 4,891 housing units to replace our old and damaged housing units that are at 3% per annum. Every year we need 4,891 housing units, or else the rain will be beating us, our homes will be falling apart on us. 70% of our population lives in slum in our urban setting, and we need to condition that situation. We have a total of 512,000 urban dwellings that are needed by 2030, and we're going to 2027. So within the next 5 years, we'll be needing 512,000 housing units. Now, what do we do as a government to ensure that all of these situations are handled? At the National Housing Authority, we have an old act which we are trying to restate and amend so that we'll be able to have the requisite powers as an entity of government that is responsible to initiate, to plan, to develop, and to regulate housing development in our country. So we're trying to restate and amend the old act so that we will be empowered to do this. And at present, what we have right now, we have had consultative meetings with additional 11 institutions of government, with the Civil Service Agency and the National Housing Authority chairing these meetings, these consultative meetings since last year. And from those meetings, we're able to formulate a framework which has culminated into a bill that is before the Law Reform Commission. That bill has been converted into an act, a draft act, which we have just reviewed. The senior management team of the National Housing Authority last week reviewed that draft act. We made our additional input and we returned that act to the Law Reform Commission. In the soonest possible time, you will be hearing from us on the media, having consultative meetings with the various stakeholders that are connected to housing development in this republic. Now, I entered an institution that was dilapidated, nothing at all was there when I entered. And from 2024 till now, we have made some achievements. And one of the major achievements that excites me, because I'm a media person also, is that we have a website. Yes, I have an advanced diploma in journalism, not just communication, but journalism. So I've been striving to get the website at my institution. So now we have established our website. It is at www.nha.gov.lr. You can check that. We'll soon be launching it, and we have tried to do the corporate emails for each of our personnel. Some are already active. At the Housing Authority, we have initiated the provision of internet services. Also, we're getting Starlink to provide us internet services. It's actually been not a small situation for us. We had some properties across the country which were deserted by our predecessors. We've done everything possible to reclaim those lands. In Omega, as you say, community, Chaplain, Tower Yellow, and the Doe Estate. We've also visited some projects that we started in other counties. In Nemba County, we visited. Lofa County, we visited. Grand Jida County, we are hoping to visit very soon. And then there is another project somewhere in Grand Cru that was constructed by our predecessing government. We need to go over there and see what we can make out of those properties so that government money can be valued. Now, we have, as I said earlier, the two main variables to attract investors to our housing sector are off-takers and land. So we've been doing everything we could to ensure that we get Liberians enrolled into our off-takers program. At present, we have 1,500 off-takers enrolled, and we have them in our database. But we've been trying to go to offices and send our forms and send communications to the ministry, agencies, and commissions. We've done that to 105 ministries, agencies, and commissions already. And when I considered the up and down and the slowness in getting the heads of ministries, agencies, and commissions to get attracted to what we are doing, I decided that we do a conference where we will have everyone in one room and discuss the issue of housing development in this republic. So we've done a concept for that conference. We are hoping to host a conference in May of 2026 because we're running with this thing. We need to attract as many investors into our housing development sector as much as possible. So that conference is in May of 2026. Now, there is a key interest everyone is itching out to hear. The issue of the 600 housing units to be constructed in 6 counties. We have an update. You know, when the president announced that we'll be constructing 600 housing units, people expected to see houses sprouting up in the next 2 weeks. But housing development has phases. And in the implementation plan that we have designed, the phases I will be sharing with you a bit. Right now we have identified and we are preparing the lands that we are identifying for the construction of the housing unit. The 6 superintendents of those counties in which the homes will be constructed were written by the Ministry of State, and they have been working closely with us. They have given us the lands, we identified the lands. My team just returned from 3 of those counties to do the topography. You have to do the topography, you have to know the topography of the land so that you can develop your site plan, and then you do the geotechnical survey so that you can know how deep you can go, what is the nature of your land. You have to do the soil test also. So we are doing all of those. We have identified the land, we're doing the topo, we're doing the geotech, and then we're doing the site plan. Also for that project, we have done the billboards already for each of the counties. We just did a sample for Grand Plaza. There's the billboards that will be going up. We have done the BOQ, the bill of quantities, for each of the units, and the 600 units, bill of quantities, we've done that. And submitted that to the partner, which is Larry's Construction, International Construction Company. We have sent them the bill of quantities, and to the Ministry of State, which is supervising the project. We have done board resolution. Larry has gone to the board resolution has been passed. All board members have signed that resolution. We have requested the IMCC formation that will vet the financial proposal of the partner that will be doing the construction. We have, as I said, a two-phase implementation plan has been initiated, has been prepared, and submitted to the Ministry of State for onward submission to the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. We have also prepared all of the procurement documentation, and we are set awaiting the IMCC meeting for that to be vetted also. So that is what we have done. So as I said, housing development has phases. We've done the implementation plan as per the phases, and we've completed our portion now, awaiting funding for us to start clearing the land and digging the ground to do the site plan and the foundations. So these are the implementation phase, from land identification to turnover of the keys. When you do the turnover of the keys, you gotta do defect liability study also to know that everything, and we have the requisite technical personnel, we have the technical capacity to do all of these activities as regards our housing development. Now I want us to look a little bit at the economic impact of the construction of the 600 housing unit. The 600 housing unit designed, built, and sold to public servants at affordable rate. It's for public servants at affordable rate, so they are affordable housing. The housing condition of 2,600 Liberians will improve, given Liberia's household size of 4.4%. From statistics, Liberia's housing size, their household size is 4.4%. So if you're constructing 600 housing units, you will have 2,640 people that will be living in decent and affordable homes. We have 3,000 indirect jobs created at the rate of 5 jobs per every unit. 3,000 Liberians will have indirect jobs, skills and unskilled jobs. The land sellers, now we're not selling the land, we're negotiating the land. Okay, and they are giving land to us also, will also benefit. Suppliers, food sellers that will be at the site will also benefit from this construction project. I spoke earlier on about the act, about our act. I want to give you the details of the act. We're going to have an act that will restate our original act of 1960. It will also amend and it will modernize our outdated act of 1960. It will bring Liberia's housing governance framework in line with current realities around us and even far away from us. It will strengthen the NHA's mandate to deliver affordable, sustainable, and equitable housing for all Liberians, especially low and middle income household members. This act also will introduce a rent monitoring and regulatory bureau. The new act will have a rent monitoring and regulatory bureau. Everybody's putting rent on their homes at different prices and causing Liberians to live a life of non-affordability. This bureau will ensure fairness in the rental market, and it will prevent exploitation, and it will also protect the tenants. Key to what we are doing, we also have come up with a framework that we introduce the National Housing Trust Fund. This trust fund in all countries, the housing development for civil servants of the public is being undertaken. You must have a trust fund. Where do the staff get money from to pay for mortgage against a home? So we're going to create a National Housing Trust Fund, which is going to be a dedicated housing fund for affordable housing access. It's going to be managed by the National Housing Authority in partnership with NASCA, with oversight by the Ministry of Finance. It will ensure full transparency and accountability with annual GAC audits and publication of beneficiary records. So it's not going to be anything secret. The funding sources will include 0.5% of the national budget should come to that funding. That is our proposal. That is what is pertaining in neighboring countries. There will be payroll deduction, but the payroll deduction will be negotiating with NASCA to see whatsoever the staff are already being deducted of some percentage will come to the trust fund. Because you see, our social services funding that is being deducted from our payroll is for retirement, right? So our whole objective is that when you are retiring, you should have a sleeping place. You shouldn't be sleeping in the street. So that's the purpose of the trust fund. So that by the time you reach in retirement age, which I will be reaching to very soon, I should have a home from the National Housing Authority. There will be grants and donation. We are negotiating for those. There will be loan repayment and resale proceeds. There will be investment income that will come also, certain percentage will come to the trust fund. Now, as an entity that encourages international partners, I want us to take a look at those partners that we have presently and what are the challenges that we encounter that houses are not being built all over the place. We have Sion Jenny. They have presented their technical and financial proposal today. We have Design Pro, which has also presented their technical and financial proposal to the board. They are awaiting us to give us land to start their construction. We have DG and Agrobac, which has presented us a technical and financial proposal to the board. We have a little piece of land somewhere in Bento, 33 acres. We have given them that land. They have done their site plan. They have done their geotech survey. We're supposed to clear the land. We are about to clear the land soon. So over there, they are doing 250 homes, housing units, mixed housing, affordable, middle income, and luxury. That's for DG and Agro. Peoria also has signed the MOU preparing his technical and financial proposal. We also have land issue with this company. We have started also a tripartite agreement with 2 commercial banks in Liberia, EcoBank and Bloombank. And then also we just concluded conversation for a mortgage program at